Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning. It is Friday morning, October 27th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty. God bless his soul. He passed away about a month ago at age 101. Francis Ann, and of course, a huge group of yourselves out there that make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access, and rightfully so. And due to that, we have this wonderful, wonderful public access station here at the Wainscott. So we're proud of that and very happy. And we're also very happy to have Larry Zimmerman here with us. Larry, thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
I know
for
we know
having
each
me.
other for quite a while, and we
Long time.
and it's like it's interesting that I know slash don't know anything about you, know everything about you. I know everything about you slash not know anything about you, knowing everything about you, type of thing. So
We go back a long ways.
one thing I want to tell my audience out there that Larry is definitely a passionate, intelligent, sensitive individual. And has the goodwill and the ability when it comes to interacting and communicating. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about many other things, I'm sure, about the event that he's putting together. Extremely important for all of us, whomever we are, wherever we are. So first of all, how are you doing this morning? Thank you for being here, and I welcome you, and I'm happy to see you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's nice to. I've never been to these studios before. They're really nice.
Okay, so maybe just a few words about Larry, so people will get to know a little bit about.
So I was a builder out here for 30 plus years. I brought my kids up here. I've since semi-retired. Um, I get involved in things like what you and I are going to speak about to take up some of my time.
Don't
Um,
mind me. Don't mind
sure, and I'm at a point where anything I can do to help people is what makes me happy. It's I'm not focused on money or I've gone through all that, and it's more about what I can do for others
me. Hmm.
to help them in any way I can.
Because when we met first, it was I'm a house painter, so obviously we were kind of sharing the same interests and the
Yes.
same kind of. I always felt comfortable around you, especially when I know that we're both kind of probably struggle in the same fashion.
Right.
No,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
more or less. But what does it mean to be retired? By the way, remind me.
Well, so well, I was late this morning, so I don't have to get up early. I don't get phone calls on Saturday nights or Sunday mornings anymore. I'm not 100% retired, but it's a lot easier. It makes life a lot better.
Yeah.
You know, um, you just don't have the stress is what's going to kill you, and it's nice to be without that.
Yeah. So I mean, we're going to talk indirectly about Jewish identity and how no matter how you slice it, eventually the destiny of all of us together is intertwined and weaved together in ways that we don't realize until we realize it. So anything that we're going to talk today here about will be about the universality of that concept of feeling safe, making other people feel safe, and hello, wait, well, we got the challah. That's good. Thank you very much. Maybe the other one goes to Michael.
Right.
Michael, that's for you. I'm volunteering. I don't even know. Okay, no, sorry, I didn't mean it. You have to pay for it, Michael. the the universality of that concept, which makes it really interesting, the level of camaraderie and the realization that actually we are who we are, and when we are together, it rings a bell that it's true. It's a true thing to feel that kind of.
Yes, it is, and it's like you said, the universality of it is we're all one people. It's yeah, there are differences. The problem is people capitalize on those differences and create the situation the world's in today. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
Yes.
and I hate to say it, but religion is a tremendous cause of that. You
Yeah.
know, all through time. Um, so to see what's going on now, it's just, I mean, it's outrageous. It's outrageous.
Why don't you tell us about your plans and what's going to take place? We're going to mention it more than once, but I want to kind of set up the that kind of realization of what you're involved in, and then we can kind of explore on that. So, can you give us the information?
Sure. So the village is totally with us on this. What we've done is arrange for a rally at Herrick Park on November 5th at 2 in the afternoon.
What day is it of the
It's
week?
a Sunday. Everybody's at a church. Hopefully, the weather will cooperate. Um, we have invited politicians, but not to speak, just to show their endorsement. All of the speakers will be clergy. Um, and I have to shout out to the Jewish Center for their help in this, and of course Mayor Larson. We It'll be about an hour program. It's My whole thing was to get the community together in solidarity. So we all standing. It's basically a rally for Israel and for peace. Um, what's gone on in Israel is just uh, horrendous. I mean, the barbarism was is beyond belief. Um, but at the same rate, the Palestinians are getting slaughtered as well. You know, and I think a lot of people can confuse Palestinians with Hamas, and they're two totally different groups. You know, the civilians don't have, I don't believe, the barbarism that Hamas does. Hamas, their whole goal is to wipe out Israel and the Jews. Um, and I think if it's not stopped where it is now, it's going to spread throughout the world. I mean, you can see the protests everywhere.
So, in more ways than one, the Israel fights the war for everyone.
Exactly.
It's a very interesting angle to.
Same way Ukraine is fighting our war against Russia.
Yeah.
You know, it's which is why we have to support both. Um,
Yes.
uh, Nobody wants to get involved in a world war, but here we have these two countries doing our dirty work, so to speak, and we can't not support them.
Yes.
So this rally is really just, I don't know. Since October 7th, like I haven't seen friends. I haven't. It's like my world changed, and I just think, and when I say friends, I'm talking about local people, and
Yeah.
and I just think we all need to come together, just to say, hey, how are you, that kind of thing, and to stand shoulder to shoulder, and know that we're still here.
Yes.
You know.
So in terms of you waking up one morning and obviously as a Jew and hearing this reality was unfolding for years. It's not like when I first heard about it, my sister called me and it was like too much information, too fast, and I I pretended like this is just one and just another occurrence
Skirmish or something.
because I had to. I have 5 kids, and I'm kind of, and so I realized that maybe reminding myself early on in the early stages that I need to focus on what I need to focus, because we can only do what we can do,
Right.
and enhance my prayers, enhance my desire to send forth the right kind of energy, which I believe in it wholeheartedly, and and when you have young kids, they want what they want when they want, period.
Right. Right.
It's just like if you have 4 or 5 of them, then you was like wait a second. So it's not like I can give an explanation to my behavior or my disability or my weakness, which will could have taken place very quickly. um, how do you feel with the relationship between the level of atrocities and being able to maintain normalcy in your day-to-day life?
So the morning I heard of it, it was Saturday morning. I was getting ready to go to synagogue. I was turned on the news, and I heard what was going on. I went on to Twitter, which is now called X, and I'm looking at the videos of what these people did, and it's like you can't unsee it.
I
You've
spared
seen it.
myself from it, by the way.
Yeah,
It
I
was
like. I just I needed to check that this was really happening, and then I started seeing these. I like. I don't even repeat what I saw. I just the I like I don't I can't even describe it. It was so barbarian. So I think so. I grew up basically right after the Holocaust. And I remember my grandparents and my parents discussing it. My family came from Ukraine. Um, and so, so I've read a lot about it. I've seen movies. It was like just something I would always zero in on the Holocaust. So it made me think of that, but the level of savagery on October 7th, I'm not sure it even compares to the Holocaust. Yes, the Jews were gassed. Yes, they were burned. But these people were burning
But this is
live people.
2023.
Yeah,
After the world is realizing not only that, many other atrocities that
right.
took place in the world. You would think that some kind of change of attitude is taking place, but
Yeah.
obviously it's not.
I just saw something. One of the Hamas terrorists called his father and said, "Hey, Dad, I just killed 10
Yeah,
Jews."
yeah, yeah.
It's
I heard
like,
that phone call. Yeah, yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just like, how do you get to that level of hate? I mean, people will say, "Oh, they've been occupied," but still, to that level
No, I
is
had a conversation with my friend before I came here. Actually, he called me from Israel and all this. He's a musician, and we always use music as a source of calming ourselves down and all this. And I said, this level of whatever it is that we can or cannot express or describe comes from ignorance. Ignorance of being ignorance. This is what it's all about. It's just kind of level of that ignorance is so contagious and so independent that when it
so
takes
easy to
off,
be. It's easy to be.
yeah, it's easy to be. And then when your surrounding and when your environment and encourages it and promotes it, then you're doomed. So in more ways than one, it's almost like I do believe in the depth of my heart that those who committed these atrocities were not themselves or those whom they could have been.
Right.
So there is a level of twisted compassion that I have towards that level of misery that them they don't know that they experience
Yeah.
because they're just engulfed with being completely ignorant of
Right.
what's happening.
They're raised to to believe what they were doing was the right thing. I mean, it's from the time they're infants, they're given toy guns and taught that Jews in Israel are were the devil. It's Kids are easy to influence, and when you constantly pound it with that, you're going to grow up to what these people are. I think.
Yes, yes, and it's also passé. It's boring to hear that. It's like when people talk to me about anti-Semitism. I know it's real. I know, even if you're not anti-Semite, even if you're not a Jew, you need to worry about it because people will catch you for whatever reason they choose to,
Yeah.
and for the most part, it will be reasons that you won't be able to relate to.
Right.
But then you would say, okay, you know what? Fine. I remember I had conversations, if I can call it conversations, with some individuals, and they were talking about hatred. And I said, you know what? I can accept it that you would hate me because I'm Jewish and because I'm an American and because I'm an Israeli. I mean, of course, I live here for 40 years. So where does that go? So that means, okay, we established that. Now we have to go and do shopping and eat, pay the rent. Do you think your landlord is going to say, okay, skip this month because you're an anti-Semite and I like that? And that earned you
Right.
1 month rent? I
Right.
mean, you are hallucinating.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is, there's no relationship to reality, to your feet
Right.
finding itself steady on the ground, flat on the ground. It doesn't mix and match. So
And
when you have to address reality, you're gonna have to have the tools to be normal,
right.
to maintain that
And
normalcy.
what does the hate accomplish? What is it doing for anybody? Does it make you feel better because you hate me? I just don't understand it. And maybe it sounds a little naive, but what do you gain by harboring hate? It just doesn't further you any, you know. Um, so I'm listen. We all know there's hate in the world, but the way it was shown on October 7th was
Yes, and
beyond.
also, just like they have the Kristallnacht in 1938, and
Yeah,
just like they burnt all the books, like okay, I was um. I mean, I probably read any book in every book possible, and I corresponded with Elie Wiesel also
oh really?
for a while about the Holocaust. And I said, okay, you know what? Okay, so you're burning the books, okay, and so okay, you're done burning. Now you're hungry. You want to go have dinner. So you're gonna go home or to friends or a restaurant. So what are you gonna do? You have to abandon the animal aspect of your actions at some point while you're showing yourself to a normal setting where you're gonna order dinner.
Right. Or you're
So
there
so
with your family at
but
the
but
dinner
but
table.
the thing is, so what is your relationship with that? No, I'm not asking you a question. I'm asking that individual,
Right.
the unknown individual. So how do you combine the two? That you can actually combine it so well that you can separate it so
Right.
well.
Right.
But obviously it's a question they cannot answer because they're so ignorant.
Right.
You cannot expect them to be sophisticated enough to even
Right.
have that kind of discussion.
Right. I mean, you see them comparing October 7th to our 9/11, which is good in a way because it brings people who are, I won't say ignorant about the Holocaust, but maybe not as educated as you or I are about it. Um, but it brings that reality to people today. Um, Both were horrible, horrible events, and but you got to get people to relate to what's going on in an intelligent way, and it's. I mean, I have no idea how to do that. I can't understand. I can't get beyond the hate, you know, to do what was done. And again, to get back to this rally, it's I think people I don't know how much people have actually watched like the scenes that you and I have seen or avoided seeing, because it's not on national news, thankfully. Um, I mean, I was seeking it out that first day, the first couple of days, to where it was like I can't think of the word, but I was fanatical about it. I needed to know everything. I needed to see everything, and and stuff is still coming out. I mean, it's but I don't know how much other people, locals, have looked at it that way, because as Jews we're in a minority here too. So it and is it just a Jewish thing? Hopefully not. Um, but I would be happier to know that people have seen some of this stuff and know the atrocities. You know, you can talk about it, but once you see it, it's a completely different reality.
Yes, and also the reason why I said about burning books and all this. Now look at the campuses across the United States. We knew. I mean, anybody who thinks that this is starting now is doesn't
Yeah.
know what he's talking about.
Right.
But it this is the most worrisome aspect of this whole scenario, really unfolding, where most of those who are part of colleges, to begin with, the kind of the code of conduct to begin with is twisted and irrational and has really not much to do with actually studying, getting your degree, and going being part of society. What is it if not about serving society that you actually justify the years that you put into acquiring education, and then you find yourself benefiting society? So they're missing the whole point to begin with, first and foremost. Then they're promoting violence, aggression, and violence, which is like campuses or universities has no right to harbor and to accept and to tolerate aggression and all this. Now it comes from them in the name of intelligence, in the name of wisdom, in the name of whatever it is. But obviously, it's a dead in the hands of people like you and I. It's a dead end scenario because you cannot do much about it. It's so far into being what it is that it's unchangeable almost. It's unfortunately, I have to say that the forces of evil is embedded so deeply and rooted so deeply that now you can just reduce the intensity of it, but not make it go away altogether.
Yeah, I think that
And that will seal our faith, by the way, eventually.
I know, but I think that shocked me more than anything anybody else's reaction to it. What was going on at the universities? You're, these are intelligent people. You would think they would know better what's actually happening, and their whole I mean, it like flashes me back to the '60s when all the campuses were in an uproar about the Vietnam War, but it was
It
that
was
was
focused. It was intense, but it
exactly
was focused. They knew what they were talking about.
right,
They
right,
addressed what it was all about.
right, and it was a subject. It wasn't a people. But listen, all through time, Jews have gotten blamed for everything that wasn't good. I think and like you said, these people were harboring these feelings for obviously a long time, and this gave them the opportunity to. I'm just surprised that there's that much hate towards Jews and Israel. Um, all they have a little piece of land. Just leave them the hell alone. It's um, when you look at the Arab world, they're like a speck in there, and why can't they just have their little speck of land? It's again. I'm sure I sound naive, but these are like simple things to me. Like why? You know?
It's called wishful thinking,
Yes,
yeah, but which is a good thing to have, really. I mean, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, but do you believe that as individuals we have a big say if anyone will contribute this kind of goodwill in sending energy forth, even though it sounds trivial and cliche? But this is what it's all about, really.
it is.
I mean, when I learned a lot from doing martial arts for many years. I did karate and I did jiu-jitsu, whatever, and I was taught. I actually am doing now. Uh, um, um, what am I doing? Tai Chi. Yeah. But this is the analogy of it. Is when um, uh, with all the martial arts, they wanted to come out with a martial art one that actually gives answers that relate to if you find yourself in a fight and under danger, you don't want to dwell. You don't want that fight to take like an hour to be resolved. You
Right.
want to find a way that it snip snap and that you will be the victor and it will be over quickly and the other person will be left without any ability to do anything more and you can walk away. Or promote for you to find a way to run away, which is highly recommended in
Mm-hmm.
jiu-jitsu. If you see danger in all this and you have an opportunity to run, you run. There's no but when you engage in a fight, they came out with techniques that are so unacceptable supposedly. But my sensei always told me you don't fight to make friends,
Right. Well.
and you cannot do things too late, too little. So if you see it coming, if you see this, make your choices and act upon it, whether it's running away. But when you're staying, you don't start picking and choosing what it is that you're going to do. Do what you learned, do what you studied, and all this. So in the same token with Tai Chi, everybody thinks it's so deceiving. It's so gentle and beautiful. I took Tai Chi for first 2 years. My my instructor did not tell me what it is that I'm doing. It just felt so wonderful, like a day at the beach, with all this wonderful. And then when she revealed to me what it was all about, it was a shock to me because Tai Chi always promotes that you need to kill the person twice at least, not once. So, speaking of what happened, for example, in the battlefield, I don't want to elaborate too much about my martial arts and laws, but yeah, what does this world expect from a scenario like this? That how does a country, an entity, a people should respond? What is the proper one? You will never get a straight answer when you have so much hate and hatred residing between your wondering and the desired answer to this question.
Right. I mean, I think they have to respond in kind, not to the level barbarity. Uh, you have to push back equally, and that's what people now are getting up in arms about, because they're 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 getting what they deserve, I believe. And again, sadly, all these innocents are getting killed. Um, there's no way to avoid that in the type of war that they're in. But I don't know what else people would expect. I don't know what they could expect.
Don't mind me.
Okay.
Because they see you now. They don't see me.
Okay, great.
What is he doing? Okay, yeah. So, how do we treat this level of frustration? Do you have any reservations you can share with us?
I wish I did.
Because I'm trying to kind of get something out of this interaction between us beyond promoting the event, obviously, and what's going to take place, which is super important.
Right.
But to see how two intelligent people can sit here and kind of come up with a thread of hope. Possibility to and hope, also.
Hope.
Of course. How
Honestly,
do we treat this? Now we're frustrated.
I don't know.
How do you treat this frustration in order to break through and to prevail in kind of maybe relieving some of this clusteredness?
So my escape is just helping other people, whatever it is. I don't, if you're coming out of the supermarket and you see some lady carrying bags, just give her a hand. Just do something nice once a day, even. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's like I feel good after I do something like that, and that helps me deal with a lot of bullshit, if I could say that. Just knowing I did something good, and it doesn't take a whole lot to do that, So and you could find ways, like, where you wouldn't believe you could find ways to help other people, and that's my way of dealing with it. I on October, I called a friend of mine who's very well connected with the government and the military in Israel, and I said, "Get me over there. I'll do anything. I just want to help." And we had a couple of interactions, and then he was too involved, and so just went, and I didn't know how else to get there. But just, I don't know, volunteer.
But then you found a way to do it here in our community, which
I had to do something.
Yes.
People said to me, "Well, they just had an event at the Jewish Center. Why do you need another one?" Well, I need it. I think the people need it. Again, to reconnect.
It's interesting how people will volunteer their ridiculous point of view. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This statement.
Yeah. Right. That's what I thought.
It's like, what the heck?
And I look at them and I go, and this isn't the last one. Because this war isn't going to end by the 5th.
Yeah. Good point. Good for you. Good for you.
It makes me feel good to do it. Maybe people burn out on it. I don't know. But like I say, it's for Israel. It's for peace. And for me, it's for the community.
Yes.
Just to get back together.
Yes.
You see people in bars or in restaurants or at the post office. Let's just get together and be together for an hour and listen to some people.
Our only answer should be, remember 9/11. I remember sitting here at 9/11 22 years ago, sitting here doing in the middle of the show, and someone burst into the while we were on the air and said something about buildings, and then we went to the other room and we saw the second airplane hit. I came from an environment where I grew up in Jerusalem in the late 60s and early 70s, and cars and bombs were exploding right and left, killing people right and left. I've seen it all, I thought, at least. And then when I saw that, I said, what's the first thing that came to my mind? Before I came to the United States, I always knew something profound about chilling out. Chilling, I was intrigued by this concept that Americans invented, to be able to chill, to relax, to enjoy a nice, beautiful day, to do nothing and think that you're doing something meaningful.
Right.
I love that. They mastered it, and they robbed us of that concept, which was a dear price to pay, in addition to, of course, the people's lives, of course, not to belittle that, but to remind people that talks to you about what's the big deal, or enough is enough. Well, those who took down these twins, what relationship did we have with them? How did we offend them? How did we hurt them? How did we become to be a target of their evil actions? How? So that means out of that nothing came something that they can just invent for the sake of justifying their actions. They tried already in 93 and they failed.
Right.
And already then we were told, listen, if they were to prevail in 93, the buildings would crumble from the bottom, not from the top,
Right.
which would have been 10 times worse. So they're telling you they're going to do it. They're doing it. They're trying to do it. And they will continue to do it until they will prevail. So what does that have to do to this wonderful American prototype here in our community, which I love and admire and respect? What does that have to do? But can we be spared? Can we be complacent and promote complacency and think that just by saying, okay, we're not going to think about it or relate to it, it will go away? Ridiculous rubbish.
Right. You can't stick your head in the sand. This is something. This whole terrorist thing is not. It's something that's not going to go away until it's completely destroyed. And nothing good obviously came out of 9/11. I don't think anything good came out of it for the terrorists either, or their sponsors. Why did you have to kill so many? What is the point? What is the point? Why can't we live together? And I understand what you're saying. Like, out here we were sheltered from it. I remember I was in my office when I heard about it, and literally everybody from my office came back to my house so we could watch it on TV. And then I went to Riverhead Building Supply and I bought every pair of gloves and masks and everything that I could. And there was a trailer in Bridgehampton where you could drop the stuff off to take to Ground Zero. Uh, what was the benefit to anybody? To anybody. It's just that whole psyche of terrorism and killing as many people as they can. That was the goal on October 7th, to kill as many people as they can. And
in the most horrific fashion.
In the most horrific fashion. I mean, it was almost, yeah, it was, and they filmed it. And they filmed
it live. I mean,
yeah.
How pathetic. That's what they said about the Germans. They documented everything in the German way. The Yekish way. It's like, I was like, what are you trying to do? Yeah. What, so you don't forget what you did?
Right.
Like, I will always, I shy away from arguments, discussions, unless it's people that I know and trust, that I can intelligently be poetic and be artistic, I think that my contribution, if I can give anyone any advice, is, hold on, hold your horses. Why don't you go to Michael's in Riverhead, buy some canvases and paint? If you can spare $100 now, that you can buy enough to keep you busy and you can turn into an artist overnight.
Right.
And that's been proven that it's possible. You're talking to the master of that reality, becoming who I am. So it doesn't matter what will be the relationship between you and I right now in this interaction. After that, I'm going to do the same thing that I need and have to do. I'm going to go to my studio. I'm going to raise my kids. I'm going to do art shows, and you're going to come to the art shows. And even if you know nothing about art, you'll admire it.
Right.
I have no doubt about it. So I will be the one that will be ready to share with you everything that's possible, in order that if there's a slight bit of a small chance to become an artist, I will be there to help you and make it a reality for you. I think this is the give and take of life,
Yes.
But I try to shy away from ending up that if someone resents me a little bit, he will end up, because I wasn't smart enough to prevent it and avoid it, to hate me even more so than he doesn't know he or she, or they don't even know who I am.
Right. Well, you might have given them a better reason to hate you.
I don't know, but just by well, how dare you willing to talk?
Yeah.
After the Second World War, everybody hated the fact that Israel was established as a state, and suddenly they put forth a prototype of a brave soldier, equipped, ready to fight, not afraid. No, they said, how dare you? How dare you being so brave? How dare you being so smart? How dare you being so together and so innovative and inventive? And how can you grasp this twisted reality?
No.
I cannot grasp it. Yeah. Like, excuse me for being what I'm supposed to be.
Right. And it's true. And they converted the desert to a thriving place. I mean, and their bravery has gone on for generations and will always go on. I'm not. I don't hide being a Jew. I'm not afraid to be a Jew. I make it. Uh, I'm pretty outspoken about it since I've been living in this town, um, because I'm not going to hide. You know, they that one of those guys put out that day of fear or whatever it was, and I called my sister in the city. I said, just stay in your apartment today, but I wasn't going to hide. It's you can't let them dictate what our life should be, and I think that's they were astounded at what Israel accomplished, and I think they were probably put off by it because they all thought I think that they didn't think Israel would survive the the all the fighting that came after they were established as a state, and with the 6 Day War. I mean, that blew everybody's mind. You know, to fight back all those countries in 6 days. Uh, Israel has a tremendous fighting force, and you know, people don't like it. Why? I don't know. It's kind of live and let live kind of thing, and that's my I guess a fantasy at this point or at this age of my life, but that's my belief. Just let it be.
Definitely. I just wanted to remind you, we're sitting here with Larry Zimmerman on
Who?
Larry Zimmerman. Oh yeah. Oh, he's here. Actually, he's here. I thought he left. Friday morning, October 27th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi. Give us one more take about what's going to happen November 5th.
Yes. So November 5th. It's a Sunday. 2 o'clock, Herrick Park. Um, we're having a rally for Israel and for peace. We all of the clergy have been invited to speak. They all will. Politicians have been invited, but not to speak. We don't want this to become a political thing. But they're coming to show their endorsement for this, and it'll be about an hour. There'll be music, and it should be a very nice event.
Yeah.
In regarding what's going on right now.
Yeah, I have no doubt of it. But now I'm a little curious about you mentioning that your parents, grandparents came from the Ukraine post World War II and all this. So what is it that, what kind of communication, as far as if I was to think about my kids, what is it that I want to give them as a tool from my heritage or my technical experience for them to make their lives easier, or that help them maybe bypass and choose the shortcuts that they need in order to get to their destination in a more efficient way and faster. So what is it that you got from your parents and grandparents by way of them giving you the aspect and details of heritage, period, identity?
So it's a good question. So actually, my grandparents came here before the war. I don't know if they saw what was coming or what. I've done those ancestry things and which is how I found out we were from the Ukraine. Um, but my grandfather moved here, I think early mid 30s. He actually happened to be a well-to-do guy. He sponsored many families from the town they lived in to come over to the U.S. Actually, I was approached by one of them out of the blue many years ago.
I
But
love it.
yeah, it was it's a
Huh.
great story. But uh, so he made numerous trips back and forth from here to Europe, and I actually have his diary that my aunt gave me.
Amazing.
But what like just a memory that I have, and I think it was like Passover or some holiday. And I remember, I was a child, but I remember like crawling under the table and stuff. But my parents and my grandparents were talking about who died, who didn't make it, that kind of thing. And it just, you say, how do you remember this stuff? My mother died when I was young, so there are little bits of memories that I have prior to her death, and that's one of them. And then just I've always had this not so much as a religious thing, but that Jewish spark, I'll call it, that I mean, what they went through back then, and I've been to Europe. I just I don't know. It's something, and you bring up your children. I try to instill it in my children. My kids know they're Jewish, but in terms of observing, most of my observancy comes from tradition, which the song from Fiddler on the Roof. But it to me, and somebody's not going to like this, but to me, it's not so much what you believe in terms of God or miracles or anything like that. It's tradition. Just keep those traditions going, so that the next generation knows that they're Jewish, and that that's the most important thing to me when it comes to Judaism or any religion, really. It's there's so many different races and stuff, but you need to keep the traditions consistent to carry it on through millennium.
Yes, how did it shape your journey? One way, I mean, obviously, I'm curious, rightfully so, about your journey growing up, whether it's college, whether it's profession, whether it's work, whether it's your personal journey, but in the same token, having that kind of quote unquote burden carrying with you of your identity.
Yeah,
When I came here 40 years ago from Israel, people don't realize that being racist, being a racist, I experienced racism like nobody's business. Now it doesn't exist as it did 40 years ago.
right.
There weren't so many Spanish people here and all this, so they couldn't exercise any racism against Spanish people. So it was people like me and Irish and whatnot. And people approached me. They always kind of, in ridiculous fashion. I was completely taken by it and surprised that people would come to me and telling me that, "What are you doing here? Is you stealing work from Americans and all this?" And I said, uh, "Are you talking to me? Because I don't. If you're talking to me, what you just said now is so stupid, so out of touch of
Yeah,
reality with
yeah,
reality that you need a crash course in a civility.
yeah.
B, some get the information, your facts right." Um, but the greatest thing that I learned is that people will be in your face. They will express racism, and they think that once they're done, they can just go on their merry way.
Right. Forgetting the harm they just did.
But I would say, wait a second, you done? Are you done? Because I want to reply.
Yeah, yeah,
Just prepare. It's going to be a complex answer or reply because you're not going to get away with. Especially with one I had, I dated this wonderful lady, and we went to a very prestigious dinner party, and someone just couldn't help himself but showing he wasn't the way he's doing it. His hatred for Jews, and he started talking about my people, and suddenly he realized what he said in front of everyone. Were shocked. So I let him do what his thing, and then when he was done, all this, the whole setup thought they can go back to normal, and I stood up and I said, "No way, I'm going to reply to this."
good for you.
And I told him, "You should be lucky, that lucky to have me here, that I'm willing to come and bring from my own qualities, code of conduct, work ethics. Because gather 10 Americans here, they will be willing to work half as hard as I want for half the pay and still be happy and satisfied." And even now, I say with my kids that have kids, it's not a burden on the state. That's my contribution to society
Right.
in ways that one cannot even fathom. So if you want to have intelligent interaction, I'm willing, but I don't think that after your statement there's room for that even. You know,
Right.
you need to really deeply think about your actions, about what it is, that the kind of words that come out of your mouth, how far they can go deep into someone's heart and hurt people. Not everyone has the willingness to answer and to fend for themselves and all this. You can cause a lot of damage.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't want that to happen to you by a third party now here to come and tell you that how much they hate you because of things that don't make sense to you at all.
Right.
So I thought that was how did your journey was affected by when you were growing up, when you were like a young adult, and
So Judaism was always a part of my life from a child up until now. Um, I, I went to Hebrew school 3 days a week, but it was So when my grandfather moved here, he started a construction company. They actually did storefronts, and um, and he made a name for
To
himself.
east end of Long Island?
No, no, no.
They're just New
Actually,
York,
in Brooklyn,
in Brooklyn.
in Williamsburg, and but he was, back in the 30s, he was like one of the founders of the Carpenters Union, and so he had a lot of influence in the industry, and became very well known. The company became very well known, and then my father and my two uncles continued that, but we had a cabinet shop, a 40,000 square foot cabinet shop, and almost everybody in there were uh, survivors of the Holocaust. So whenever I would go there, which was quite often, I mean, it was sort of a cool place to hang out as a kid. Um, they all had stories to tell me, and it just, it just, they just, it just had a never-ending effect on me. And again, it was the same thing. Like, I can't believe that there was that much hate, and that was how it was shown, and that we had to live through it. But then as I got older, I came to learn we as Jews have been persecuted one generation after another, and um, all through history. The bright side of that is we survived each of those generations or periods of time, and the people who persecuted us didn't. So, but it's always it just, I don't know, it just has a profound effect on me. I tried to instill it in my kids, and I wasn't really successful at it.
Well, what does it mean not being successful? I'm
So,
curious.
like I said, I went to Hebrew school until I was 16, which nobody does that, but I did it. It was tough when I moved out here to get a Hebrew or a Jewish education for my kids. There just wasn't an adequate school. I started a synagogue with five other parents, because we wanted to have a school for the kids. It's now the conservative synagogue in Bridgehampton. Um, uh, it just, I say I failed because they don't feel about it the way I do, and I really wanted them to.
Maybe it's better to say you didn't succeed rather than
Yeah,
fail.
yeah, that's true. That's a better way to look at it. But when my father was dying, um, he and I had a conversation on the phone, and he said, he said, I guess it's up to you to carry it on.
Yeah.
I never forgot those words, and I think he was right, and I feel obligated, not in a bad way, but obligated to do that. And like, I can't even tell you how much it means to me to continue.
Yes, yes, of
You know?
course. I mean, it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
but they don't. But your kids don't feel any resentment to the whole
no,
idea of
no,
being.
no.
It's just that they can still be Jewish and believe in all this without being a part of that conservative outfit.
Right, right. I mean, my son even called me to see how I, when October 7th happened. He said, "How you doing, Dad?"
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah,
you know,
a relief.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
because
okay.
he relates to it, and
Of course,
yeah,
he better.
yeah, he better is.
It's like hello.
I'll cut him off.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Out of the will. But um, no, it's and my daughter's husband is not Jewish. His mother is more supportive of the Jews probably than I am. She's just an amazing woman. I and they know, his parents know how much it means to me. So I went there one day to pick up, I don't know, one of my grandkids, and she shows me this book that she bought about Judaism. I said, "What are you doing that?" She said, "I." This is her words. "I want to make sure that if something happens to you, meaning me, that your kids will have that the grandkids will have a Jewish education."
Yes.
I burst out in tears. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
She's a Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
but that's not to change the subject, but that's the feeling I've had out here for 35 years about the non-Jewish population. They're particularly the clergy. They're always very supportive of, and have been, of the Jews, and it's nice to know that I live in a town where most of the non-Jews are supportive. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
um, there's definitely that underlying current of anti-Semitism, which rarely shows its face, but we all know it's here. Uh,
I would be disappointed if there weren't.
well,
I mean, it's like it's okay that in this way you know that it's actually,
yeah,
yeah. But I mean, look at how successful we are here in having being so inclusive with the Spanish community that's forming with full force, which I love it. I mean, I work with a lot of them for years and years and years. I know their stories, they know my story, compassion, camaraderie, everything. We're so successful in this community and in this state, in this country
yeah,
also.
yeah,
And no one wants to kill no one, no one wants to burn no one, no
right,
one wants, you know, people are too busy to survive and to work and to do well for themselves and their families. And
right.
I love that with passion. And we should always be proud of it in this community that we're so tolerant to one another.
Yes, yes.
It's unbelievable.
One thing I particularly love about the Latino Hispanic community is their sense of family,
Yes.
which you know, we Jews are like that, and they're the same. And you're right. I don't feel. I know people who do, but I don't feel any. I don't have any feelings of aggression or anything towards. I love the Latino people. I mean, they have helped this community.
To know it's undescribable.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, also, there's no time that I call any of my Latino friends and say, "Hey, how's it going? What are you doing? Working." They always work. I love it.
They
So
do.
it reminds me of myself. Working, yeah, okay, okay. What's new?
Yes, yes,
So I love that.
absolutely.
That's a great place to be.
I had some great employees that were Latino, and they
Yes,
were like family.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they're wonderful people. They really
Yes.
are. And again, it's the intolerance and which comes from ignorance. Surely, am I on the screen?
No,
Uh,
no, no, don't worry. Don't pay attention to me.
um, no, but it comes out of ignorance. Why somebody wouldn't like a person because they're
Yes.
Hispanic.
And we definitely, at least we realize and we know for sure we cannot resolve this issue. We can talk about it intelligently and
Yes.
whatnot. Let me just mention we're sitting with Larry Zimmerman here. Is he here? Yes.
Wait.
Uh, Friday morning, October 27th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Whether you believe it or not, we've been on the air for 55 minutes. I'm going to allow you again to remind everyone what is the event that's going to take place Sunday, November 5th.
Okay, so we're having a rally in Herrick Park. It's called Rally in the Park for Israel and Peace. It is Sunday, November 5th at 2 in the afternoon. Program should last about an hour. Um, we are going to have some politicians are invited, not to speak, but just to show their support. Uh, Almost all of the local clergy will have something to say. There'll be some music, and it should be just a nice day to get together, stand shoulder to shoulder as one community, supporting each other, and that's my goal.
Um, First of all, I really want to thank you for being here with
My
me.
pleasure.
I don't take it for granted. I hope that we can actually sit across from one another without necessarily any
What are you
special.
doing next time?
Yeah, yeah. I'm here 7 days a week, so you
Okay.
cannot threaten me. um, I don't take it for granted. I want to commend you for your effort and your energy and your goodwill towards that cause. And along the years, even though we were not so close to each other, but we know enough of each other that we're decent human beings. And whether you're Jewish or not, whether I'm Jewish or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is really the values, civility, number one in my agenda. And so I know that the extent of your effort is immeasurable, and that we can only hope that more and more people will take upon themselves these kind of tasks and effort in place in order to benefit from it and better and enhance that concept of tolerance and peace and goodwill and gathering, celebration, whatnot. All it isn't it beautiful. I can sit here for an hour and talk about only positive things.
Right.
So easy to do that. It
Yes.
doesn't. I don't have to reinvent myself for that sake. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to give you the last word.
My last word is we're going to continue doing these rallies. Let's hope the last one or the next one is to celebrate the actual peace.
Okay, fantastic. And I second that. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning October 27th, year 2023, on a Friday morning here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Keep up the good spirits. We know you're there. We know your effort in place, and we respect that, and we love you, and we send you that energy again. Thank you to my guest, Larry Zimmerman. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much.